This is kind of an interesting thing. I'm making 3 videos all at once today, and makes me wonder. Like I I used to struggle with podcast content. I had a podcast with some friends for several years, talking about church revitalization, and it ran its course. You know, that was the thing. I always wondered. I always thought we would have all the content to do that, and it was fun. It was fun while it lasted, but in the end, it was a struggle. And then recently, I started a new podcast and decided to take this goal of doing it with some. I'm trying to think, like seasons, basically. So the first season is out there, 8 episodes. I'm getting ready to launch the second season in the coming months, and then we'll have the third season at the end of this year, 2026. But my thing is I'm making this video, and I'm kind of laughing because I'm doing this as I drive. It's an easy way to do things, and as a pastor, I think sometimes we do our best thinking while driving. And we do live in a good age where, we do have devices on our phones that can record and dictate to and all sorts of things. I'm still trying to figure out, I have a friend who has a dictation thing that I really like, and I've seen it. Like I guess he puts it on his pulpit. He has it on his phone. He puts it on his pulpit, and as he preaches, it writes the notes, and then he's been checking to see how those notes interact, to see how that is, and it's been kind of an interesting thing, and I'm intrigued by it. Like, I've been intrigued with ChatGTP as an editor for me. So, what I've been doing is I will write my sermons out, and then I've always had an issue of trying to get my thoughts together. If you've been watching these videos, you know that. There are times where my mind is running at 1,000 miles an hour. And that's been my thing. I will sometimes write something, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta include this point. So as I'm writing out my sermon, I never really do manuscripts, and I never really do points. That's the whole thing. I've just kind of had my own way of doing it. But the whole point of why I like ChatGTP as an editor is I can sit there and I can put in the prompt, make this, clarify this, and move stuff where it will sound better. In other words, like, I'm asking it to look over what I wrote and see if I write something that's a good point for, say, John 7:35, but I've got it up where John 7:40 is. It's going to move that in the points down, and then it basically, what ChatGTP has learned to do is now what it's been doing, and it kind of, one thing about ChatGTP is it is a technology that evolves as it gets to know you. And so what it has done for me has been this thing of kind of like manuscripting it, but bullet pointing it. So it will it's kind of weird. I have to show you, but it's been weird the way it's been doing my sermons the last couple of weeks. No, maybe the last almost 2 months, it's been doing the sermons, but it's kind of like putting like little sentences there, and then, like what used to be 2 or 3 pages, it has become 7 pages, and it's kind of an interesting thing. And I don't know if I like that per se, because at times it feels like now I'm preaching longer, but at the same time, I'm able to sit there, I'm able to highlight, oh yeah, that's a point I want to make sure I get across to the people, and oh yeah, there's this, and oh, make sure, circle this, and oh, let me write this in, and it's helped me quite a bit, but at the same time, it's helped me grow as a preacher, I think. A lot of people have been saying, I'm more together, I'm more focused, I make sense now, different things in those regards. And so that's just something that I've been trying to figure out and do and work out. But technology is an interesting thing, and I don't know what this dictation note taker thing is. I would love to. I know he had told me what the name of it was, and I probably have it written down somewhere on my phone. But I know I've got to like, get that and learn it. And maybe not on my phone. Maybe I need to get it on my iPad. Just because my iPad would be somewhere where I could have it and just see it. But anyway, it's those things that kind of get me going. Like I like new technology at times, but I've learned in my years now in ministry, I've got to make sure that it's going to work for me. Not everything works for me. Not everything is the best, but what is there is there, and what I use, I use. I at first I was not willing to really use ChatGTP. I know that there are people that they think I'm having ChatGTP write my sermon. I'm not. I'm writing my sermon, but I am having it edit. Because, and it saves me a day. In all honesty, it usually takes me 2 days to write my sermon, and then I used to take a third day to go through and edit it. And like I said, I'm not always the best editor of my stuff, and this, ChatGPT's learned from my writing style and preaching style and prompts and everything, and so it puts something together out of my notes that really helps me and kind of brings me back to stuff I learned as I was getting ready to preach, and doesn't always put everything in. It is technology. It is going to fail. So one thing I do like about the new way, like I said, it's been doing a new way. I have space to write, so my wife's noticed I will take Sunday morning and I will be sitting in the back of the church, and I am looking it over again and putting in those final notes that I'm sitting there going, oh, it forgot to, oh, it edited this out or something like that. I'm putting those in. But anyway, that's it. That's all I'm gonna say right now. It's not a long video today, but don't be afraid of technology. Please, don't let technology write your sermon. Your congregation. ChatGTP doesn't. ChatGTP is a good sounding board for ideas, a good resource for editing. I've used it, when a pastor tells me I need to learn to do something and they don't go further, they don't say, what that is or how to do it. I found ChatGPT to be a good resource in that, to say, okay, explain this to me, and it can explain it and do it well. But at the same time, like I said, I use it more like that digital assistant editor type thing. I had a idea for trying to get across to our visitors, that they're welcome here. But I get nervous because we are a revitalization. We are a small congregation, and I don't want people to leave. And what I loved was it came up with a little saying that I can put in our bulletin. Yes, we still use bulletins because I think that's still a valid thing that some people aren't doing as much. But I put it in the bulletin, and that's gotten some people to be like, hey, I like what you're saying here. So anyway, that's it. That's all I'm gonna say right now. I am pulling into where I am supposed to be. I was supposed to be here a half hour ago, and had to turn around because I forgot my wallet. And now as I pull in, I'm realizing there's a lot less car spaces. Okay. Anyway, talk to you later. God bless.